Good evening to you. Good evening. I'm going to mess up more than help myself here. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, pretty much. Let me say, first of all, thank you for coming out this evening. It's not quite a larger crowd as we had last time. I hope that didn't turn a lot of people away because they didn't enjoy the lecture before, or maybe they didn't know about it, but I'm very grateful and thankful for coming out tonight, those of you who have made your presence known today. There's so many things running through my mind. Let me first of all extend a heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sharon Oliver for, again, contributing to my coming here and for making the facilities available. As always, to Brother Akiva King for his magnanimous spirit, for always trying to research and bring out information to what he considers his people and to anyone who walks the metaphysical or so-called spiritual path. Love the brother for that, and I say I appreciate your being here. There's so many things on my mind this time. I do a lot of lecturing and traveling. I do a TV show on a regular basis. I just took the show I've been doing for a year and a half in Texas every Monday off the air. I moved the whole thing out. That's about the third time now. I think I closed down programs, which I'm not proud of, but it lets me know I do very little cursing. I don't tell people to hate anybody. I simply let the chips fall where they may and tell the truth, and everything else seems to fall in place. They hate or they don't, or they love or they don't, and they search or they don't, and so on like that. But inevitably, if I'm on a show for a year's time, something happens to that show. So that tells me that I'm listened to. It tells me that the very people who do need to hear me sometimes don't, but the people who don't do, and they act. Would that people who can understand what I'm saying would take action also before those negative forces act. I hope tonight, I've been moved to kind of extend this lecture. We'll see how it flows. When I start getting these urgings and I don't obey them, that's usually when I get into trouble. When I say obey, I do believe in a higher cause and a supreme power and a being and a creator. Sometimes refer to that power as the universal prime creator. But whatever the names may be, something and someone created everything, and I honor that presence and the fact that it gives me the ability to speak and to think, and I try to honor that brain and that body for continuing to do it for a long time. So, when I get wound up like this, it's very difficult to start with one particular opening, even though the lecture was entitled The Coming Planetary Alignment, and it was prefaced by the truth about our sun. I moved to almost what I call that the truth about our sun, our moon, and the coming planetary alignment, but we'll probably be here all night long, and so I'm going to let it just flow. Knowing how things usually go, and I've been lecturing now for 30 years, I've seen the most of it. I think I've lectured in every state and over 200 universities and taught in 3, traveled overseas now, so beginning to be kind of old hat. In fact, I used to teach classes. I'm saying this because some people have asked me a little bit about myself. They say, I don't say enough about me, but the subject speaks for itself. So give you a little background. And I could never get tenured in university. I stopped even trying because the one thing I would not do from the time I was 18, I got out of school pretty fast, I was pretty smart, at 18 was to not go and tell lies to black young people. And I found I could even tell lies to black young white people, or white young people. It just, to me, was wrong. And of course, the deans of departments don't like that. And as a consequence, I said, to heck with this, I'll start my own, and I'm happy about the day that I did that. We have our own institution. The last time we give our spiritual awakening in Chicago, we had 3,500 people to come out, and that's usually what we average on our annual there. Usually we average about 40 to 50 people at our weekly sessions. With all of that done, my heart lies in metaphysics. That is probably the most important subject in my life, not the most important persons or people, but the most important subject. And I have found that metaphysics has never lied to me, whereas all of these other books written by so-called people have lied, either through ignorance or through duplicity, complicity, or a structure that wanted to train. I say many times, and I make some of my so-called educated friends and not so educated friends, but those who really have had a lot of schooling, very angry because I tell them, you haven't got education, you've got a training. And that's what they gave me. It's the truth. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of sweat and tears trying to get those things together to appease people, think I was intelligent, only to find out that I went through a heck of a training program. And I will state to you now, you can never get educated in this society and in this country under the circumstances that have reigned here for 600 years. They're not going to do it.
Right.
Now, saying 600 years, understand that supersedes Columbus and all this kind of thing. Because if they teach you the truth, you were here long before Columbus. You've seen and read those books. I'm speaking to you as black people now. You were here long before Africa was ever thought about. I never named Kemet or any other word, Akibuland, whatever. I've studied, I have a whole list of, if you feel that, I cover the whole gamut from 250,000 BC in black history. I don't know of any other historian doing that because they don't dare venture where it's uncomfortable. You say 250,000 years, there's not supposed to be black history. But you have to start there, you can dig up black history, if we're going to think of black history as we now are taught. The idea that this planet is a very old one, and I hate to kind of tread, but I'm going to. I've even heard the summation of intelligent people stating that, well, the Earth is 4004 BC old. Now that's wonderful and ludicrous at the same time to me. And when I hear intelligent people say that, insist on it, rather than argue, I usually just look. Because if I ever opened up my bag of tricks, we would fall out, and what good would it do? For a person to make that statement shows that they don't understand some things. Like we don't even understand what year or time it is. Because we follow the Gregorian and Julian calendars, which makes the year 2000 1 year off. We've already passed the year 2000. And the Chinese and Asiatics tell us we don't even know what time it is. But there is a group, the Luciferians and the Illuminati, who do know what time it is, and they're preparing because they know we've already passed 2000 for an enclave to happen at the Great Pyramid at the end of next year, and they want the downfall on our planet to make everybody come under martial law because they realize their time is short, and we don't know what time it is. When this kind of thing is going on, and I see such silly things being argued about, and how many times does the president zip unzip his pants, and how many times does, these things are nothing but ludicrous distractions to stop a people who should be miles past that, where that shouldn't even take over 15 minutes discussion, a little laughter, and they should move on. It becomes headlines that black people actually tune into, and I can't understand that. That defies description for me with all the things we are behind in, should be doing, have done, and don't even know. We spend time worrying about a president who we did not elect, by the way, did not even select, and has no consciousness of law. If you understand, you read that book, Vote Scam, you understand on the federal things, you don't do anything but go through the motions. You have no control in your power of vote, and it's not even registered if they don't choose it to. That is a terrible thing to say at this time, but it is the truth. And people don't want to hear the truth, but I hope tonight you're prepared to hear it, and I hope that my mouth will emit truths, that the Creator guides me, and we can get into some heavy discussion tonight that will turn out to be very way out, but nonetheless, I feel the truth. We live in an interesting time in one of the ancient Asiatic homes, and if you're talking about Asia, you're talking about a Negroid black person's land. When you say Asia, you're talking about Mesopotamia 1, Mesopotamia 2, and I hear a lot of things saying sometimes that the ancient Asiatic and Chinese, Japanese philosophers. That's a heck of a thing, but if you're talking about Asiatic and Mesopotamia and Sumer, you're talking about what? Negroid black lands. I'm going on the idea that the topographers and the physiologists and the geneticists use of Negroid, Caucasoid, and Mongoloid. If you're going to the Huangpu Valley, you're going there roughly around 3,400 BC, you're going to find the original Jaguar people which they call the Naki man, which is a black person, which is where your Asians begin in their philosophy. There is no Asian philosophy or philosophy that is so ancient that it does not involve Negroid-looking peoples. Any land that you go to on this planet, any continent that you go to on this planet, any island that you go to on this planet, and you dig into the historical past, you will find the Negrito. The more ancient of days becomes Negroid-looking, what they call a Negrito, little black dwarf. Occipital lobed, long-headed, dark, peppercorn hair, short, anywhere from 3'5" to 4'2". That's any land. You don't have to go to Africa for that. You don't have to go to Asia for that. You don't have to go to Europe, which is not even a continent, for that. Antarctica would give you better reliefs of that, which they're hiding that fact now, because they even have found the blue pyramid now in Antarctica. Antarctica would give you the same thing. Everything worthwhile here has not been told to you, because you're feared, hated, and loved at the same time. There's a certain kind of love that gets twisted. When you admire somebody so much and realize their potential and they don't know who they are, it kind of angers a person, and so they take pox because now they can. The giant is lost, the beast is there, and they can do whatever they want to do. All because of ignorance, but there's a reason for that ignorance. And tonight I want to spin that tale, and it's going to be one that's going to be way out. I've already told you, prepare for that. Please don't go out to the end, and you might even wind up staying. Let me set the table and weave the spell. The idea came about that there was a tome that stated, "May you live in interesting times." The whole adage actually was, "May the gods descend upon you, bless you, and may you live in interesting times." We are indeed living in interesting times. Where do you begin with all the things that are going on on this planet at this time? They have presently, well, let me just start with, I don't even want to start with that. Let's just start with some of the things that, the Russians 4 days ago launched, and they're supposed to launch the middle of next week, a satellite. Big deal, they've done it before. But this particular satellite is supposed to contact their Mir orbiting platform or capsule. You've been hearing a lot about Mir and how terrible it is, but it's interesting, it's been up there all that time, and it hasn't on its orbit, it hasn't degenerated from its orbit. And they use that to do a lot of things, and they always want to denigrate the so-called USSR, which is very much alive, by the way, and you have 2 divisions of Russian troops over here in the United States now that never happened in history before. Well-trained, their fighters are here, their planes are here. The Japanese have 29, the Germans have 19. Already here in the United States. Holloman Air Force Base contains 1. Things that are happening now that you're not even aware of, about ready to be taken over, and you don't even know it. Let me again go back to this so-called Mir launch. What they're going to do at that particular time is to put up a mirror. They're going to put up 19 mirrors if they have their way. The first test mirror probably is now on its way to Mir, and there's going to be another one on Wednesday. These mirrors, they want to make the brightness of the noonday sun over many of the Russian cities and reflect energy and heat down there to make the areas of Russia that are cold warm. The capability of a country and a nation to put up this and put 19 of them in a circle and then focus them as they would over their continent shows you that the USSR is very much intact and very much alive. And if they move those mirrors, triangulate them, to reflect the sun, they can cause a heat ray to come on any continent that they want. And it's so high up, only certain missiles, ballistic, that can reach them. Hopefully they'll do this peacefully to just warm those cities. One of the reasons why they went to Russia, they had all these discussions, to tell them not to launch that mirror. But you see, something else Russia has is a weather modification program that the United States is just duplicating, but the United States is not as good at it. Nobody else has it. They can make weather. This country, you say, is in disintegration, and the ruble is down, and people are starving. Their soldiers are not starving. Their scientists are well-fed, and they're deep underground. Try to use facts tonight. Facts that I want you to check on, research, and see what you come up with. I'll give you the solution, and I'll give you the problem. But unless you do it yourself, you don't know whether to believe what I'm saying or not. Please do the research and take good notes tonight. Hopefully again, Brother King will have this tape, he'll buy the tape from me. If not, on the question and answer session, because I never run out without that, we can bring up these points. That plane that crashed off the coast of Nova Scotia this summer, killing 229 people, had a very interesting black box package. And when they tested the cabin of that plane, which by the way was 15% intact, they found that there had been a temperature, not only in the cabin, but in the first class section, that had reached 515 degrees Fahrenheit, and there was no charred metal, seat, leather, or person on that plane. Think about what I just said. Temperatures provable in that ship reached 515 degrees Fahrenheit. No charring, no carbonization of the metal or any of the plastic or anything there. What could do that? What did do it? What really happened to that plane? Many of the prophetic circumstances coming from many of the so-called prophets and the biblical book of Revelation and the book of Dizyan, the Al-Quran, all state that when Mount Etna, Mount Vesuvius, and Popocatépetl go off in sequences within 9 months period of time, then hit your knees, get your faces upward, and ask if there's a divine creator somewhere. Etna has gone off 3 times in the last 30 days. Look for Vesuvius, look for Popocatépetl. Popocatépetl is in Mexico. It's about 22 miles to the southwest of Mexico City. And it is on a fault line, that chain that runs up here in the area of the Midwest. St. Louis, Kansas City, Chicago, Wisconsin, Minnesota. And that fault line has perturbations, little tunnel spurs that run into the area here of Canada and Detroit. If Popocatépetl, you'll be saying it, tremors and goes, we have great problems in the middle of the United States. We're worried about the coasts. But something, I say that with an accent and quotation marks, something is causing that gas pockets in those tunnels to try and make that daggone thing active. There were many UFO sightings down in Mexico City, all during this year, about near the end of it. We're in November, 1 more month, and we'll be into 1999, supposedly. Those UFO sightings, when there was a big one hanging over Mexico City, it was so big and so gigantic that it caught the eye of the people. The foreign press covered it. This foreign press did not. Who is the people in ignorance? Who is the people and are the people with free presses? So many little UFOs came out of this big thing, and they all went toward this mountain, Popocatépetl. So much so that the townspeople, dignitaries and all, began to follow them. And as they got there, they found that as they went up the sides of the mountain, it began to get hot. Their feet began to tingle. The shoes began to burn, and they flew down the mountain. It is so hot around there now, and none of the geologists, topographers, and meteorologists have said anything to any of the people about that. And of course, they couldn't know it, even though they have orbiting satellites that can pick a quarter in your hand. They couldn't detect that. Popocatépetl is hot underneath, which means it might be the 3rd so-called reported volcano in history to blow sideways, and not cone its top and plume. If it goes sideways, you got an earthquake that will take Mexico City off the map and come up through Texas, affecting every big city in Texas, and it just goes from there. We're in a very precarious situation. Nothing's being said about it. We're worried about who unzips his pants and who doesn't. To show the pomposity, I don't even know what to say, of some of these scientists and how they play people's minds down. I hate talking down to people, and I hate for people to talk down to me. They cover stuff that is so ludicrous, and we follow it like we do the soap operas each day. I heard, this isn't the way I want to go, I know, but you'll bear with me. I heard a discussion the other day, I was having over here. There's a couple that were arguing. And then there was a third voice, which I couldn't see them, but I heard them. Two people, two women and a man. At any rate, the argument got intense. I was either ready to intercede, or call the cops or something. But they said, somebody's going to get hurt. These people are loud talking. It turns out they were fighting and fussing over a soap opera and events that happened on it and some of the main characters. And the fact that the person hadn't seen it and the other one was pissed, pardon the expression, with them not seeing it. That just defied any confidence that I had. You talk about a lack of something to do and spending your time intelligently. That blew my mind. These were supposedly middle-class people, by the way, whatever that means. They have found now that the Larsen ice shelf, which is in Antarctica, down under, has recently broken off a piece of that ice shelf that is 92 miles long and 23 miles wide. We won't guesstimate the tonnage because it goes up 30 stories. It broke off. What is amazing, on a satellite, I have a lot of people that work the internet for me, and I say I know people all over the world now. They know I will use this information, so they mail me stuff, but fax machine is always going. When you saw it from an infrared photographer, when it showed the satellite view of this thing, it looked like a little pencil that had broken off when you compared the whole Antarctic continent to it. If something 92 miles long, 23 miles wide, 30 stories tall, can look like a sliver in a toothpick, that daggone continent down there, that ice must be tremendous. Tremendous. And it's breaking up. It's melting. Dan Rather and some of the ones, ABC, CBS, same difference. They all have the same presidents. They're all part of the New World Order, so they're not going to bring you any news that their editors are not told. Copy editors or programmers, doesn't matter. They sit this guy up there in the middle of summer. If you watch the 10 o'clock news, you might remember when he comes on about 10:30, they sent him up there and he talked about a blue pyramid. How many actually heard that this summer, heard about it at all? Anybody here? Oh, one person only? One person. Well, at least I have a corroborator. I didn't make this up, huh? All of you should have heard that and paid attention to it, because what was the blue pyramid doing up or down in Antarctica, and why would they send a crack reporter down there? And I haven't heard him mention it since. He said he was going there, and that was it. Blue pyramid. Half again as tall as the one it is on the plateau, so-called Khufu Chia. What was it? And why was it found? And what else was at that complex? Or just somebody in the middle of the ice shelf had a 451-foot blue pyramid, and it just suddenly decided to surface. Wisteria is plaguing most of the waters of Earth. Wisteria is the red plague. It's that so-called plant, animal, insect, and that's all I can call it because it's mutated. It started off as a plant, affected all the fish off North Carolina, into the Gulf of Mexico, came over there again. Be very careful whatever fish you eat. And it has caused so much havoc in the oceans of Earth that they don't even know what to do with it. That's not the reason that the sperm whales and the dolphins and the porpoises are beaching themselves, even though the government, whoever that is, and some of their controlled press releases are making you feel that. The reason why the sperm whales and the dolphins are beaching themselves is because the HAARP program is in full blast now. They know exactly what's happening. They try to pull these whales and porpoises after they beach themselves back into the ocean, and they come right back up and beach themselves again. They want out of here by any means necessary. The wisteria is a little red thing. They started off as a plant. Now it's become an animal, can actually walk. It's now mutated and can fly. It's carnivorous little, I don't know what to even call it, but it's attacking most of the fish life. It's like a cancer that eats them from the outside in, and they lay their eggs inside and they grow out. You all know about mad cow disease. So that takes care of the other things that are hooves and walk around. You heard about the chicken, of course, all the chickens that they're going to get rid of, and of course it destroyed all those chickens. The Asiatics did too, right? Watch the chicken prices drop over here now. So you can't eat it, it swims. You can't eat it, it flies. You shouldn't eat it, it walks. Now you got to breathe something. Last night I got into this, I'm not going to bore some of you. I see you were there last night, and I appreciate you coming back out again tonight. But you can't breathe anymore either, because the petrol hydrocarbons and emissions that are in your air now can cause all kind of cancerous things. If your immune system isn't up, you'll probably come down with some kind of congestive disease. Plus, you took those shots, and of course, they're into the little kids. The little kids will spread it to your home because you took them to the schools to get those shots. So what are you going to breathe on? Can't breathe, can't drink. Oh, you can drink the water. Forgot about that. You can't drink the water, except in every major city they find out now that there are a minimum of 28 different chemicals that they add to it, trying to kill the bacteria. And of course, as they found out 50 years ago, back in the 1930s, that once you do that, the bacteria simply mutate, and the second strain has longevity. So we'll be drinking so much chemical petrified water that they even tell you now that if you go into your favorite shower at home, you shut the door and you close the curtain, you're breathing so much, what? Chlorine, that it produces a gas that can stunt your growth. Well, it's already fully grown. Stunt your brain growth. Hope you never get that grown. It even cause you again to have immune system deprivation, they call it. Right? What do you do? What do you drink? What do you drink? What do you breathe? What do you eat? And then, of course, we still roll up our arms with these shots. We're living in interesting times. Didn't say what kind of interest, but we are living in interesting times. They've had ants that are attacking farms up west, down west, driving people out of their homes. So many ants are coming up. In the tundra, in the belt, down there near the Mato Grosso, down there again in South America, ants are coming out of there, and they're getting into the underlayers of buildings and actually eating them almost like termites used to. In fact, they eat up the termites. I don't have to worry about termites anymore. They make very good food for these ants. They have cats now that are tracking hunters. Hunters are a very interesting breed of people anyway. Usually they're ex-servicemen with the frustration and they want to get it on and they don't know what to do anymore, so they hunt. Oh yeah, I was in there too. I know how they train, what they say. These hunters, sometimes they get so hyped up with the adrenaline they'll shoot themselves. So they usually put on big red coats, or sometimes they have a circle. Some have a square, some have a circle, so that you know the side of a mountain, but usually they like to go uphill, you know, and downwind animals are sense in a minute. And so they use this. What am I saying? They have had hunters released in relays. I call it releasing, unleashing them. They start out and then you give about 15-minute intervals, and then the next hunting pack, usually 5 guys, will come up behind them. They have found now, in the tracks that the hunters are trying to track down other beasts, that there are puma and other type of tracks from big cats and even dog canine families in their tracks, which means as they're tracking the animals, animals are tracking them. More and more hunters are coming up missing now. Animals are getting so shrewd that they'll have one for a decoy, and as he takes aim at that, the other 2 get him from the side. Not talking about it though. Not talking about it at all. I know you saw that film where the deer attacked the man. Yeah. Seen that one? You did see that one? Well, you had one, you know I'm not lying about it. How about that? Was that interesting?
Yeah, quite.
God said, you know, I'm mad and I'm not going to take it. They should have done it a long time ago. It's enough of them. And pompous mankind and humans are so, you know, so secure now, they'll lose a lot of lives before they get gifted. The animals are changing. The fact that our earth is changing. Chupacabra. Make any sense to you? Ever heard of that before? Chupacabra? How many of you ever heard of chupacabra? 1, 2, 3, it might be Art Bell people who stay up all night long. He's an interesting person too, by the way. 450 different markets. If you think he's for real, come on. At any rate, chupacabras are this thing that comes around, seeming sucks blood. It's like a vampire. Only this one seems is real. Leaves the body flaccid, all the organs begin to disintegrate within it, and leaves you bone dry. So we can leave mighty building at a single bomb. Must be super chupacabra. But chupacabra is what they call it down in Mexico. And as they enter into the Mato Grosso, and as they do some of these wild genetic experiments, I'm not quite sure that we won't have a lot of chupacabras running around here pretty soon. Last but not least, I know you've heard about these two things. I'll put them together. The flying squids. I know you heard about the giant squids and the squids and octopus in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
How about a flying squid? How about 25 feet long? How about in packs of 50 or more? How about major ships are being lost and people are being plucked off the decks? That's why your excursion boats now are kind of curtailing. You're going to hear about a lot of excursion fires because they don't want people to get too shook up about the flying squid pack. What I'm saying sounds like it ought to be the headlines of the tabloids. It should be on your news along with who unzips his pants. It isn't. And about the two sea serpents in the Straits of Madagascar, off of Angola. Straits of Madagascar, eastern part of Africa, eastern part of Africa. And the fact that the Smithsonian, University of Cairo, and some other French group have brought back what they call the best intact fossilized remains of a Tyrannosaurus rex. You know, they've been looking for that for the longest anyway, ever found. Now, what that had to do with sea serpents, I don't know, because the sea serpent was supposed to be a Paleosaurus. The Tyrannosaurus was supposed to be a land thing. But they have it now, or they had it, at the Field Museum in Chicago. And there was a movie out not too long ago about something loose at the Field Museum in Chicago. Get the name of it right now. Remember it? Huh? Relic. There you go. Interesting enough. They sent it to the University of Chicago. Once you send something to the University of Chicago, you're in deep trouble. They sent part of this bone structure to the University of Chicago. And the University of Chicago has a place called the Museum of Science and Industry, founded through the Rockefellers. And very interesting, it took them 1.5 years to build a parking lot there. They make from something like maybe $2 million an hour there. 1.5 years to build a parking lot. Now, it's right off of Lake Michigan, if you've ever been to Chicago. It's an underground parking lot. 1.5 years to build that. But I understood that they did send this fossilized remains there, and they have some of the best genetic research teams on the planet that are paid all kinds of money, because money is no object when you go to the University of Chicago and you research. Grants and so are given all the time. And that's all I've heard about since that time about this fossilized remains. Everybody, as we know, seemingly in the intelligent first world, wants to make a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I think maybe they're succeeding. Pretty soon we won't have to worry about going to movies to see T-Rex. We live in interesting times. Our sun, which is a very interesting item and a facilitator, gives us our warmth, gives us our heat, gives us our light, and enables us to stay on this planet. You've probably learned about the sun in school. You see the sun every day, and you've heard all kinds of stories about the sun. Some of the stories that they say about the sun is its structure. And they have pretty much, since the scientists are very brilliant, come up with some certain concepts or facts about the sun itself. And they say that the sun, of course, is divided into 3 parts. It has what is called a corona, it has what is called a photosphere, and it has a core. The core, they guesstimate, is 35 million degrees Fahrenheit. The corona, they guesstimate, roughly has what is called about a 15,000 degree temperature, and the photosphere roughly about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But the outer edge there, to be called again the corona, can go up to about 11,500, from 10,000 to 11,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, anybody know the boiling point of water? 12. Would you stick your finger in boiling water knowingly? Why? Very hot. What's the temperature of it again? 12 degrees Fahrenheit. How about something 11,500 degrees Fahrenheit? Pretty hot? That's what they say is the outer temperature of the sun. The inner core of the sun, 35 million degrees. Incomprehensible. Heat like that, no one can understand. But that's why they say that also it makes this energy by converting hydrogen into helium. Follow me closely now. Don't let me lose you, because if I lose you now, you'll be lost to me later on. I want you to go with me on this journey. Hydrogen to helium conversion is how they say these elements create heat. And the sun is so big. Boldly, the sun is 500 times the size of the earth. So big that there's enough hydrogen and helium in its atmosphere that this could never hardly burn out. If it did, it would take all kind of fantastic number of years. They say also that there are perturbations that come from the sun. Solar prominences, flares, that whoosh out into space 200,000 miles in a second of time, 150,000 miles in a second of time. Just whoosh out. And these flares interrupt all kind of broadcasts. They interrupt most radio and higher waves around our planet, in our solar system. And they're always worried about sun flares. Recently, we've been hearing a lot now about what? Sun flares. How many have heard about sun flares recently? Me, again, test my audience. Let me see what else here. I got half of you with me. Great. So again, you know I'm not lying. These sun flares, they're saying now, could at any moment take off your favorite TV program or radio program, because they're so intense that if it were not for the orbital path and rotation of our own Earth, that we might even lose a continent or so on one of those sun flares. And they're very worried about where these sun flares may lead to, and the fact that they're intensifying. It's on the internet, it's on web pages. If you need the .com registers, I'll give it to you at the end of the lecture. But the whole point is that our sun is becoming very intense, letting out solar energy in the form of heat prominences, say 200,000 miles in a second of time. Our sun also is another interesting object, because it keeps all of the planets that revolve around it with the right temperatures at all times. We would think that the closest planet to it, Mercury, would be burned up, but Mercury still tends to stay there, so they've pretty much said that Mercury must be a boiling lava type planet, simply because it is so near the sun. Well, think of this, we're just 3 planets out. Third planet from the sun, according to our meteorologists and astronomers. And we, right now, have a very cold surface temperature. In Detroit, it's getting kind of cool. Chicago, you know about the hawk there. And what's very interesting is the proximity of the sun during these seasons that we experience. When the sun is very, very, very close to our Earth, or let's say when the Earth is very, very, very close to the sun, what's the season? I'm asking a question. Now, by December 21st, northernmost eclipse toward the sun, then the Earth comes back around in retrograde motion, or I'm sorry, in centigrade motion. It is going to be winter, and that's when it will be closest to the sun. They call it perihelion. At aphelion, the furthest point in our rotational path from the sun, we have what? The sun. Element of hydrogen helium conversion makes, again, for the combustibility and intense heat. We just talked about on the sun. When we're closest to the sun, it's winter. When we're furthest from the sun, it's summer. Hydrogen helium conversion, intense heat beyond description. Asking your friendly astronomer, meteorologist, they will explain it very quickly. They'll tell you it's the actual tilt. That's spelled AX, not ACT. Axial tilt, because Earth is tilted on its axis. Nothing in declination and so forth hits it directly. It's all an incline, and because of that, it refracts off the orbital path and off the vortex of this. Oh, it gets real double talk. And you bought that. They explain everything away, but the way they explain it is to use terminology that you either don't investigate or seemingly feel that they are so supreme in knowledge that they know. It doesn't make any sense. Because it makes sense to their comrades, and this is what they teach you. I'm sorry, this is what they train you. This is what they present to you in your schools. So to the axis of the Earth stops all of this thing. Something 500 times your size. Does it matter if I stand this way? If I stand this way? If I turn around and stand this way? 500 times your size? How do you get away from something 500 times your size? No matter which way you tilt. They also have a very interesting phenomenon that they state that the sun is so hot that were it not for the axial tilt again, our planet would probably be bulging at the seam as the equatorial region, and it would be a boiling inferno there. Interesting enough, when the so-called cosmonauts and the astronauts spent your taxpayers' money, well, some of you, to go into what we would call experimentation and investigation and use scientific research. And the cosmonauts went out there from Russia, and the astronauts went out there from the United States, and they got out there so that they could go to Mars and go to the moon and go everyplace else. They found an interesting phenomenon, and even had a little TV show. It was called, Where is the Sun? They went out there and they said they couldn't find the sun. They said Alpha Centauri, Epsilon, Boöte, Procyon, Arcturus, all the various suns that we don't see and who's intelligent enough to name sun systems, all those suns could be seen, but the Earth's own sun couldn't be seen. In fact, they say it's a third magnitude dwarf sun compared to the suns that can be seen in this part of the galaxy, in this part of the constellation. They couldn't find the sun. If they took off from the wrong angle or so, they had to search for the sun. 500 times your size. Perturbations going out. 200,000 miles in a second of time. Hydrogen conversion. You get out there, you can't find it. What happened to it? I know, they hid behind the Earth, they couldn't see through the Earth, something 500 times the size of Earth. Something this big versus something this big, and you can't find it? What else do they say? They talk about the coldness of outer space. Cold out there in outer space. Freezing temperatures in outer space. How can you have cold in outer space when you got the sun that's hot? First of all, they got out there and it's bright and they couldn't find it. Then they get out there and it's so cold that they can't live with it. The sun, we all know, is hot, and the sun is what? Bright. Can't find it, and it's too cold in space. Why? Why would this particularly be? If it is so cold, and the darkness also they talk about in outer space, because space is dark. if the space is so dark as it stands now, why is it again that the sun will still be out there? How can you lose the sun? How can space be dark? How can space be cold? I don't want to go further. Somebody give me an answer for that. Yes.
Well, what I understand is it's a reflection. Our sun is a reflection of another sun, which is the spirit.
Okay. What about it?
So what we see is not really there. It's the sun behind the sun.
Sun behind the sun. So we really don't have a sun, we have a hologram.
Right,
An illusion.
right,
We think it's there.
right.
What school do they teach you that? Okay.
Well, I read it.
You read metaphysical literature. You read the way out stuff. Okay? See, yours is out of a desire, you see. How about somebody who can give me a straight scientific answer? How can you find something that hot and that bright and lose it when you get off planet Earth? Yes.
The nature of the sun's electromagnetic waves is such that as it approaches our atmosphere, it hits upon certain elements within our atmosphere, or hits upon our atmosphere and transforms it into heat and light.
Listen to my tapes, you've been reading some other interesting things.
I've been reading other books.
It hits the
Shucks.
magnetic force field of our Earth.
Yeah. Okay, let's just say that both of you are right, that some way out explanations metaphysically have to account for it, or that there is some interaction with what would be called the elements of Earth, that as they interact, inertia starts and friction starts and heat is generated and light responds to it. Let's just say all that's the case. Why don't they teach that in school? Why do they tell you that the direct light of the sun and the direct energy from the sun is so hot that it does all these things? Why don't they say it's an energy center and not a heat center? Why don't they talk about waves and propagations and resonances rather than elemental burning hydrogen and helium on the atomic scale go?
But they don't want to know the nature of energy.
Oh. Oh. But you go to school and you pay good money to be taught about that. Don't you? The time. And who is they that they can decide that you shouldn't know? And why do you continue then to believe other things that they say if they told you that big lie? There's problems here. Big problems. They better get solved very quickly. If we don't even know the nature of the sun in the center of our universe, on our solar system, part of a galactic combination of suns, and we still teach that it is hot and bright, that would help us. Or somebody help us real quick. Why would we send kids to school to be taught foolish physics if there is a different physics that they're not even using? Or do they even know? Or what is our problem? The ancients had a whole lot of legends about the sun. In fact, the ancient Egyptians termed the sun Ra, and there's different historical progressions that state that either that is a combination Ra, by giving it a name, but of the various entities and energies that came from the sun and made mankind, human and man, able to live on this planet. The Japanese have the 7 rays of the rising sun and said that they are sun-centered and actually should be running this planet because their ancestors came from the sun. That they're slant-eyed because they live in a planet very close to the sun, and they don't like the Chinese because the Chinese are crossbreeds, and the real Asiatic that should rule should be the Japanese people. That's true. You about their flag. See their flag? Understand the Osaka, what they're saying about where they come from and what they're doing. Why it is their time. Everybody has a time. Everybody has a season. Everything seems to have a course of things to do. Well, whatever our sun is made out of now, it is letting out perturbations and prominences. So much so that it has the geophysical world, the astronomical world, shook up. And think about this. Also part of the physics and chemistry that they teach you in school, in physical science, they state that the fastest known quantity on our planet Earth is registered as the speed of light. Do they still teach this? And light moves at what? 186 what? 1,000 miles per second. That is the fastest speed. They talk about light years away, which means, again, distances of planets and galaxies at something traveling 186,000 miles a second still might take 1,000,000 years to reach. They're that far away. The speed of light. Speed of light talks about a path of energy, and you're charting its speed. If that is the case, how is it that a body like the sun, creating hydrogen-helium conversion for heat, can send out a flash, a flare, a perturbescence that can travel 200,000 miles in a second of time? 150,000 miles in a second of time at a regular interval. If that is the case, what are they now saying? They're saying that an element, hydrogen is an element, helium is an element. Is that correct? An element can travel faster than light. What? Think about that. If they are telling the truth about the speed of light, and they say they know it at 186,000 miles a second, and if you went through your physics class and chemistry class, you had to know this. And now they're telling you that something converting energy from hydrogen to helium can flare out 200,000 miles in a second. That means that the element can travel faster than light. That means you ought to throw away all the physical science books and you ought to sue them for teaching you false whatever. You can't have both. Think about it. Tell me the flaw in my reasoning, please. You cannot have both. What then, have I often asked, do they measure the speed of light against? They say a vacuum. No such thing as a vacuum. When you temporarily create a vacuum, it won't even last. And what's in the vacuum that will let you measure that speed of light? And even if they could, how can you then say an element can travel faster than light? But now, of course, they have quantum physics, plasma physics, because they knew they were caught in lies. So in order to get into those institutions that teach that, you have to be hand-selected. Because they know that's another big lie that they're still teaching, the speed of light. There is no such thing as the speed of light. Light agitates, light generates, light is energy. It reacts against elements. Elements don't even travel. But they're talking about they must be traveling because our sun is putting on more light. What our sun is doing, brothers and sisters, is to send out energy. They have miscalculated energy for atomic mass and structure. It is an energy source of high resonance. And at one time, it was like a step-down transformer. It took energy coming from the various suns, which are all lined up and all sending energy in, and it stepped it down so that the 12 planets in our solar system could stay in balance and have proportionate heat and light to maintain whatever intelligent life forms they may have. 1959, our sun started to reverse polarity. It finished by 1960, recorded by Dr. Marcel Stein, University of Chicago, not University of Colorado. And when they had the National Symposium on a yearly basis, they all agreed this is what had happened. Our sun reversed polarity. Our sun now is no longer a step-down transformer. It is a direct emitter of energy. It's no longer a relay and hoping that the little life forms can take it. It says, ready or not, here it comes. This is nothing new. Now they're reporting it because the intensity is getting so strong, they're getting worried. And they figure they're going to have to tell you something, because when the TV starts going out, and the computers don't work, and the calculators won't work, they'll say it's Y2K, and you'll believe them because you think they're God. How many just heard what I said? How many just heard what I said?
That's
Just
me.
read, man. Expect me to. Now, how many are thinking about what I said? They have magnetic computers that can give you 1,000,000 gigabytes in a nanosecond. Now, what did I just say? They have such high-speed computer capabilities now that you can get any kind of thing you want transcripted, broadcast out, 1,000,000 of them, in less than 1/100th of a second. How in the world then can you get a computer failure on little PCs and main and hard drives? And if you think that I'm wrong, think about this. I'll give you some of you computer nerds, hackers, and wonderfuls. Something to think about. You can't lose anything off your computer, even if it goes down and your hard drive crashes. And they can bring it up. Where did that information get stored if it's not in your hard drive or PC there? How can they bring up something that you crashed with? Because there's a bigger computer somewhere online, that's why you have to join the internet. It loses and gains everything you have, and can override anything you have on that PC or any other mainframe you have connected to it. They already know that they're higher speed computers than what they're selling you. And every month they're changing, it's getting fantastic what computers are doing. We even talk about sentiency for computers soon. They'll be able to think on their own. Happened before in the history of our solar system. We can talk about that sometime too. Suppose that's good. If this is the case, how can there be a Y2K phenomenon that will put martial law on the streets of this country because nobody can solve the Y2K problem? Does anybody know what anybody not know what I'm saying when I say Y2K? Just raise your hand. There you are. One person, two persons. How many know about Y2K? I thought that it's all over the place. Let's kind of briefly get into that. Just take about 4 or 5 minutes out. Year 2000 calamity is what I call it. Y2K. I call it the millennium mess. They're saying that at 11:59 a.m. on December 31st, 1999, that the computers will go down, cutting off transportation, cutting off food delivery, cutting off electricity generation, cutting off everything that uses a computer now. And that the bank accounts that you have will be wiped out. If you got $1 million in your bank account, all right, you got $10,000 in your bank account, suddenly you got nothing in your bank account, and you can't prove it, and you can't get it. And you can't get your check from the government, you can't get your check from the job, and you can't get your computer to order anything because the computers won't work. Everything we have, shipping that comes into Dominic's and Jules and everything else, comes transportation-wise either by plane or train. None of them can go because they don't know who's on the track. They don't know what delivery and what the code is on the invoice and the bill of lading. You can't travel anywhere because they can't generate a ticket. They don't know again, and they can't get gas for the ships or the planes because nobody's going to deliver it, because nobody's going to get paid because they don't have checks. People will go in the streets crazy, angry, mad, and they have martial law telling you stay in your section or die. And they'll have all these concentration camps which look like, again, all these public storage houses that you see everywhere. That's what it's going to be. Yes, that's why you see them all around in every city, in every state, and they're getting ready for it. And I tell you right now, it's the biggest lie I ever told. They could solve that anytime they want to, because they already have magnetic-driven high-drive computers. But what they have to hide is what's really happening to our planet that they have no control on, and since you think they're gods, they must make you think that the God now is coming down. And that man-God, mankind, must come and save you from yourself. Our sun is putting out more and more magnetic energy, working on a magnetic frequency, which is exactly what every one of you should be praying for, because you have melanin. Why should you be praying for this if you have melanin? Because one of the things that people with melanin don't do well is to write. I didn't say they can't adapt to it. I'm not a fool. I didn't say that they don't have the talent. They like to talk. They like to hear. They like to sense. They don't just like to write everything down and then you got to read through a book. They teach you in school, John and Mary went to the store. See Dick, see Jay. See Dick run after Jay. I mean, no. Okay. Then, when you finally start to make some money in this system and you want to get ahead, you have to get into speed reading. You cannot read word for word. You don't even read literally. I mean, vertically. You read linearly. They even teach you to read the wrong way. Then what do? You pay $380 a day to get Evelyn Wood Reading Dynamics. And then they tell you, imagine, scan, go down the page, feel it out, straight out. Why did they slow you down in your most formative years when your brain was a blank thinking everything from the age of 1 to 3, when children in Europe can speak 5 languages by the time they're 3 years old, we can't speak, we're 33 years old. Because they teach you wrong and they know they taught you wrong because they're not educating you, they're training you. Melanin doesn't even go into operation till you raise your frequencies. It can only happen at night if you got enough light during the day. Then you go into a dream state where all the things are in color and all the wonderful information is finally released, and if you can begin to interpret those dreams and tune into it, and even talk about astral projection and everything else that you can do with that melanin if it stores up enough in your body. Of course, now you said there's people that listen to Art Bell. Of course, you got, what is it, Ed Dames, he's got remote viewing. Well, the poor black man's remote viewing is astral projection. The rich white man is remote viewing.
Yeah.
You've gotten so unconscious, or whichever you would, that when you say anything about voodoo and spiritual readings and psychics, 10 years ago, we wouldn't even let it touch us because we didn't want to be connected with that kind of foolishness. And every president of the United States has his own astrological advisor. Hitler had a phrenologist, an astrologist, a palm reader, and every other thing, a graphologist. But we're so afraid of making the wrong move, we won't take our own creator's gift that it took us centuries to develop, and the gift from the gods was melanin, and use it correctly. It could only happen that way with melanin. And you better pray you haven't rancid it, is that a word? Your melanin very quickly now. Because as this sun puts out more and more energy, the frequency of this planet will have to rise to match it. And the inner sun of our planet is already trying to match that frequency, and you haven't seen volcanoes erupting yet if it doesn't hurry up and do it. And they have nothing to do with that at all. They agitate it, like little kids with a bonfire, they take pieces of it and throw it away, but they can't quench the bonfire, so it goes out on the sun. They are lying through their teeth, deceiving, as they always have, and you, unfortunately, en masse, are still buying it. Individuals are beginning to awaken. There's some very interesting phenomena happening to awaken individuals now. Things that you used to have to go to the circus school for, to the shaman school for, to get a rishi man, or again, to teach you how to put your hand in fire and not feel it. Walking charcoals, walking burnt coals, able to move objects. Fascinating. But people are now doing it commonplace because they say you can go into an altered state of consciousness by which your wiring in your central body cuts off from the brain and you don't feel these things, and when you don't feel these things, they don't affect you the same way. When your frequency is right, you have a force field around you that gets so intense, it doesn't act like it usually does. And if you have melanin, it's always trying to adapt to different frequencies. Even frequencies like are coming from our sun now. They tell you there's a hole at the pole, ozone hole. Ozone, a big threat to the people of Earth. That's a lie. It's a big threat to some humans on Earth. And some kind of man on Earth, mankind, but not man and womb man on Earth. Never has been, never will be. Carcinomas, melanomas, leukemia, Skin cancer, endodermal tissue deterioration happens to people who are very light, and melanin cannot take that area and seal it off by tanning and distribute the wealth. Because that's what is coming from the sun, wealth. And one man's wealth is another man's what? The deliverance that people have asked for is at hand, and people are running from it because the great white coats have told you it is destructive. But destructive for whom? Destructive for what? And when is the destruction to be at hand? Species of animals in everything, in every medium, are dying or committing sacrifice. The oceans, the air, you hear birds now that are just falling out of the air, can't explain it. Homing pigeons can't home anymore because they forget where home is. Sperm whales, porpoises, dolphins, beaching themselves. Two things are happening. First, there are volcanic activity at the bottom of our ocean, which is changing the water temperature, and they know it. But they were intensified not by some creator or God or whatever name you refer to your supreme being. They were done because of the HAARP program, both in America and in Russia. The acronym HAARP, High Active Auroral Research Project, in Gonoka, Alaska, in which they have set an array of intensified energy that they're beaming off of the ionosphere, refracting it back down into the earth, and it's affecting everybody underneath it and everything underneath it also. That HAARP program has found out that on the continent of Africa, misnamed of course, are gold and silver veins that if they can get underneath it, will send off enough energy that may protect whoever can get underneath that area from some of the incoming energy from the sun. And they're all ready. That's why Clinton went to Africa and South Africa. You think they went there because they're worried about what the Africans are doing?
Nope.
You think they went there because they're worried about what Africaneers are doing? And still they have Rhodes scholarships? Come on. Please wake up. Please understand what time it is. On Mr. Bell's program, and that wonderful person, what's his name again? Dom, remote viewer? What's his name again? Dane? How many heard the broadcast? How many can you say were Art Bell listening? I'm going to be honest now. One person, two. Okay. Remember when that Dane was on there and he made a statement that there was something from space that released up and over Africa, and it was going to release a fungi and a microorganism that was going to destroy a lot of life, or a lot of tropical plant life. How many heard that program broadcast? Yeah, see, I'm not lying again. But he was. And if you believe him, everything that is bad reported in the United States of America by the press always has to come from someplace else. The Asian flu. Well, Asians have been flying for some time. Have they ever? Oh. AIDS from Africa. Well, somebody should. It must have been a trip to Africa. They need to aid her. The Hong Kong flu. What are some of the other things they name? Where these diseases come from? The Ebola from.
That was from Africa too, wasn't it?
Got a lot of tapes. Please buy some of my tapes. It will help me to do more research and get out of this country faster. I may give you some information. A lot of loose ends to tie up. It's going to take a lot of money. Everything that comes through this controlled press, through these educational institutions, and I hate to call them that, through this disseminating whatever again, is to make you not understand what is really happening. If you have any doubt about what to do, find out what they tell you should do and do the opposite. You'll probably come off much better. Everything that is disseminated, I was talking with a group last night, and you know I can go into the health thing on that part too. Everything that they tell you is wrong, and they're deceiving you. As our sun has reversed its polarity and is now putting out more energy, it is changing to magnetic frequency. Our Earth pretty soon will not be able to generate electricity. And everything electrical will fail. Get ready for brownouts, blackouts, dim outs. As Edison Company put in comment, rotating blackouts and brownouts. Everything rather than the truth. Generators blowing out. That's why they were after nuclear power. And the nuclear power that they had is nothing but a big hot water heater. They say, oh, Blair, you just make everything contrite. You go so we out. That's exactly what it is. They go through all this fallout to generate heat so that a hot water turbine can take it around the reactor and they send the hot water out to you. I think it's a better, easier way to boil water, don't you? But you bought all of this wonderful science. Every scientific, well, let's just say that might be too much of an exaggeration. 90% of the scientific advances made on this planet have been done by Negroid-looking black people. And they hide all of that. We still think that Caucasians are the generators of original thought and creativity. If you believe that, and I got 5 bridges I want to sell you, all in my hip pocket. This planet is a creation and a maintenance of various life forms, one of the few places in our solar system, and probably our galaxy, as I do my research, that such a thing can take place. We can have 7 different kinds of life forms here in the form of what we call humanoid. No other planet can do that. We have literally trillions of other kinds of life here. If you go into the microbiologist world, you know what I'm talking about. Now you say, well, there are only 5 races of man. Well, there are only 5 races of human beings. Well, but there are only 5 races of mankind. Well, there are 2 more you don't know about them, the inside Earth. They make contact with them. And they also know that everything on this planet has a reason for being, and now it's time to elevate that consciousness. The energy from the sun is coming in, streaming in, with the energy that is going to cause magnetism to become the way of life. You read Hatan and all, you got 3 days pretty soon coming up of darkness, if you believe Hatan. If you read about some of the books of Revelation, there will be time when the clouds will be hidden, they will hide the sun, and great pestilence, and the beast will walk the earth. You read the Al-Quran, and you read again when Allah has judgment, and when Muhammad was told again that there will be changes coming, in which man would not be able to live unless man had found ascendancy, and the great plains and mother plains would come. If you read the book of Dizian, of the Kish, down in South America, and the Papu book, all talks about a time when the sun will change, when the people on the surface of earth will be fried, and other people will ascend, and others will have to go into the earth to live because they will not be able to stand the light of day. The light of day, the energy of the Creator, not the heat. The light of a higher resolving magnetic frequency in which the spirit of man will be illumined and people will glow. But they'll glow because inside they're finally coming alive as to who they are. They become then sons of the sun. Ever heard the phrase, there's nothing new under a sun? There isn't, because when there are sons, there's going to be control ability and control factors. Out of sun, you create your own light, as they have done in many strange places on earth, because you generate energy, and you see on a plane, much like we're talking about now, infrared, because you see with your soul, and you see with your heart, and you see with your eyes only after this other stuff. Our planet has a great interrupter and a great degenerator. It is called the moon. The moon is an artificial body that is hollow. and should not even be there. The moon generates electricity and has been a plague to man ever since it was placed there, because it allowed human and man and mankind to live together, because only man could survive if this moon was not there. That's why they're going to the moon finally. They lied about it for 30 years. The moon creates an electrical factor that makes our Earth electromagnetic instead of magnetic. The moon is failing. 2 years ago, in January, the moon was on fire. The side of the moon that we see was all red for 30 days. Actually, it was 27 and a half days in magnetic month. It showed up on the infrared scopes as 1,000 different fires, 1,000 points of light, for prophetic prophecies that we could see in the sky. How many of you even heard about that? Tabloids had it, but I know you don't read tabloids, but you'd rather read the real press, real newspaper. You get more truth in the tabloids than you will your daily issues. When this happened, it was not that it was a lot of flames, it was an energy that was being released that showed up as little points of light or numerous fires on the moon. Something that tapped into the energy source of the moon and released some of their electrical frequencies, and it showed up as little points of light. Believe it or not, if you could see your planet now from space, it would show up as multifaceted points of light, because our Earth is on fire. Go to your internet, go through Gary North, get the .com register, go to Will or Bill Cooper, even go to your favorite Art Bell. But look under meteorological phenomena. Find out that they have on web pages, and I didn't bring a lot of this with me because I didn't know if you were going to get into this, but like I told you, when I get moved from within to do something, I better do it, but otherwise a lot of people want me. When this shows, it shows Greenland with various points of fires. It shows Saskatchewan, Canada, and various parts of Canada with fires. Wyoming, Utah, California, Texas, Minnesota, various points, about 30 different states, United States, points of what looks like luminescence and fire. Greenland, Japan, the islands there in Hawaii, all on fire. And something seems to be coming from space, igniting these fires, or something seems to be releasing the fires from the inside. Many of the fires are magnetic or electrical in frequency. Some are actually burning. Check your web pages out. What do you hear all the time now? Fires out in California, fires in Oregon. They've been talking about this since 1987. What can be burning? If all those fires, with all that acreage, has been burning up out in California and Oregon and all like this, you have no produce. You have no wildlife. What burns? Rock doesn't burn as far as we know. Just the fires alone. And this may be true, or something else may be happening, because if you go to your produce section nowadays, and if you've been into fruits and vegetables, you know what you're getting now. I don't know what to call it. And you know how quickly it spoils, and if you put the KO7 or something like that and soak it in it, you know what it looks like when you come back 15 minutes later. The things have either been petrified, gassed up, injected, or warehoused. We're not even getting enzymes and proteins and nourishment from our food and produce. And if we can't get it from the produce, what are you going to do? Buy the canned goods? Go down your aisles of your favorite store, and I always tell people, don't stay in 1 hour too long, because you're going to be observed. You know, somebody come down there with nothing in the cart looking at you. And they got television everywhere. Big eye brother. Go down there, put 5 or 6 cans into your wagon. Take them home. Actually buy them if you want. and research what is on there. Don't just look at what's on there, but they don't lie, they tell you what's in there. Go look it up, and then tell me how you could ever call that food. Life force. It will take life out of you trying to process it. You don't digest it, you process it. Most of it gets caught up in the cold and everything anyway. We don't even get food. You talk about soul food. It'll make a soul out of you very quickly. Permanently. It will. Read what's in it. I'm not going to go into a health discussion, but I'm just saying, we have been so controlled on this planet that everything that can let us raise in vibration is canceled out. And now, they, whoever they are so afraid, and the government is so worried, that they want you to get shots. Have you ever seen such an outbreak of shots to stop an outbreak of disease that may never happen? Kids beneath the age of 12, prepubescent, getting hepatitis C shots. How ludicrous. As parents, what can you be thinking of? Why would a kid not even 10 years old need a hepatitis C? Why would he need or she need a hepatitis B shot? And what on God's name, if there is a God somewhere, would they want a hepatitis C shot for? They're sexually active, they're doing it to everybody? They've been exposed to AIDS in your home? A woman goes to the hospital, and if she doesn't sign papers and threaten to sue everybody in the hospital, not only is the silver nitrate put to the baby as it comes down the birth canal, but then you got to get 5 different shots in the infant because they're born without immunity to a planet, and yet they've got a big pineal gland up there with melanin. Anybody with melanin doesn't have to get vaccinated for anything on this planet. In fact, if you can just help those glands, you'll probably be better off than getting the vaccination or inoculation. But I'm not going to go on that tangent. I already just did. Every sign shows that they're worried. Every sign shows that there is a people or persons with potential that they don't want them to ever achieve or to come into consciousness of the potential that they have. It lets you travel on this planet anywhere you want, unvaccinated, as was the constitutional mandate when this country had a constitution. Being 3/5 of a human being, of course, it never applied to you anyway. But even if you thought it did, at least was their constitution. There's a higher constitution and a higher order that you serve. And I think it's time we begin to kind of approach that. With melanin, you can live on any planet in the solar system. People without melanin cannot. The truth would be when the signs were given, and when on other planets and other things, there would be symbols that was in ancient Mesopotamia, in Egypt, and other places. You got a big deal supposedly about the face on Mars. You got a big deal about supposedly the Sphinx on the moon. You got a big deal supposedly about the Sphinx and spaces that they found, pyramids they found underneath the oceans here. About the runs in Miro and Diolio. About the one in which is right off the coast there of Osaka, Japan, and the Aleutian Islands up there in Canada. Finding pyramids everywhere. Big one down at Edwardsville and Collinsville, Illinois. Pyramids everywhere, and Sphinx everywhere, and all the Sphinxes look Negroid, and that's why they're going crazy. The one on Mars is like a black woman, and that drove them out of their mind. Whatever mind you have. Everything is awakening to who you are but you. Everything is awakening to a higher magnetic frequency. And we're still worried about what's going to happen with electricity, what may happen at Y2K. They're running scared because the very planet is turning on them. And who is their savior? You. And you don't even know who you are, most of them. So these people had to depart real quick when I wanted you to test your ability to concentrate and not go to sleep. Most people that have this thing in a higher frequency go to sleep. Other people now can become alert. It's disruptive what I'm saying because I'm making you think. You have the thinking capacity. I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to educate, not train. So you are walking dynamos about trying to find out the power you really have, the power of thought. And concentration at night when everything else sleeps, and you can reach them and they have no defense. You know what you can do. Where you have an astral body, and you have a soul center. You are Solomon. Soul man. Solomon. Womb man. With the ability to conceive mentally and to project it. And if you read the two dictionaries, conception is to conceive mentally. Well, unless you conceive mentally, you can't do it physically. And the first conception is in the mind. And melanin is a trigger for that portion of the brain that must awaken at this time, the magnetic frequency. Thus you had your Atlanta killings and tappings, and the Orange County killings and tappings, and it goes on all over the planet. And that's why they want black babies. Just to be in the presence of a black child at this age and the kind of soul that comes through is to illuminate you. And if you can tap into their fluids, it will preserve you. I didn't know I was going to get this way up tonight. I really don't care who leaves, but I do care who stays. Because if you stay, I'm not going to share this kind of information with you without you acting upon it. If you have heard tonight anything, and I've only dropped 1,000 different little bombs that triggered something within you to come forth and be who you are, then this lecture, if that's what you want to call it, was worth the while. But you don't have to 1999, December 31st to act. Every day that you don't act is another day that they do. For they're rushing against time, which you're able to bend and enfold, and they can't. They're rushing against frequency and energy from the sun that will keep you alive and kill them off, or make them go in the ground, or away with shields. They'll be walking through the city streets with face masks and bodysuits. The energy is too intense. It is not hot and it is not bright. It is illumination and energy which you can reach the frequency for. And everything they can do to stop you from converting to what you should be, they will, including the most hideous form of intravenous shots. Lower your vibration, making you less than an animal because they get the needles and the serums from animals. And as they say again, and from aborted fetuses and things like this. Every state inspector in every city in the United States that comes around, first municipal and then the state inspector comes around, they take the eviscerated remains of corpses and you must put it in a bag and give it to them. It is not entered into the system. Even in wartime, they exhume and eviscerate. Why do they need those organs and those glands and those plasmas? They're now cloning. They've been cloning since 1955, University of Chicago, 5 of them. Put them on an island, studied them for 22 years, and they tell you they don't know how to clone, but one day they might. Well, they can't clone, but they're gene splicing and give you tomatoes with insect venom and give you all kind of other things that are cross-species and cross-phylum, anything to try and hold you back from developing as you should and were. Well, it won't work. You cannot fight your habitat. You cannot fight the planet that gives you life, and you cannot fight the Creator God. You can't even fight the Creator. But they think they are because they have fooled themselves into thinking that they're gods, and many of you still worship them. Many of you do. Hopefully nobody here, or at least after tonight, you won't. In closing, I try to think of myself as an egotistical poet at times. And reading Sun poetry, I say my ego better get some better building because they're better than I. But from time to time, I get moved to write, and I use dynamic pentametry, just like they taught me, trained me in school. But I like that kind of form. I want to share with you something I call human. After that, it'll be open for questions and comments if you choose. O magnificent beasts on this strange enchanted land, you roam your asphalt jungle clothed in skin that we call man, incredulous, insensitive, incongruous to all of God's created works that you find both large and small. Just how long can you wander in your self-created web of total make-believe about who and what was said, changing who, changing why, and what was in antiquity, as the whole world starts to learn of your strange ubiquity? Your incongruent nature makes you tell so many lies, makes you alter resurrection from the cosmos to our skies. You've reconstructed universes, you've summoned even hell, yet there seems to be no end to the lies your mouths can tell. What you view on graphs and prisms, what you see in lens and scope seems too staggering to your mind and ego brain, and so to cope, you distort the very heavens, you'll change the smallest beast. There seems to be nothing that your fame will not increase, and yet you know within, from the most into the least, that your time is running out, that your fame will soon succeed. As we view its bright new morning, even through polluted skies, we know there is a creator, for creation never lies. And so we come together, lost-found people, tried and true, asking blessings from our creator and divine release from you. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Does my heart and blood good. And as I don't run away, it's open for time for questions and comments. Let's not stay over the past 2 hours, okay? Let's try, first of all, one question from one person and then repeat. Let's go here and then we go.
You mentioned something about when a baby is being born, about them injecting silver nitrate back up into the birth canal. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm a victim of one of those. They had certain years when they did great, and then I had to learn again I was supposed to be blind, little by little working my way back. Supposed to be next year I'll pull the glasses, we'll see how I can do. They put silver nitrate into the eyes because they're saying that the woman's vagina, the birth canal, is diseased and full of germs, and this is the only way to protect it. And unless you sign papers or have midwives and do it away from there, they do that automatically. Now they're even giving 3 shots automatically on that first week. So, I thought you didn't have
You're talking about going. Where are you going to go? You're getting out of here. Where are you going? I want to go. Where are you going?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, right now, I'm not too sure. But I got feelers and lifelines. I told everybody where I go. I've lectured all over the world, and people have traveled, have been my students and stuff. I said, look, when you get a phone call from me, no ifs, no ands, no buts, I want in, okay?
Yes, indeed.
I have places in Africa, Botswana land being one, so like that. I have places in Japan I can go. I've been to almost, I think, 2 states in the United States I haven't been to. But the problem is this. I was just, this summer, Madam and I, we went to Tucson, Arizona, and then we went to Douglas County, then we went to Douglas, Arizona, 50 miles from the Mexican border, with some people that were there that we thought we could respect to live with, knew how to rough it. We've been in training for that for some time now, and we thought maybe we could live there. I had to fight, what do they call these things? Scorpions, rattlesnakes, kangaroo rats, everything's down. You had some bulls came over the hill and walked down to the perimeter again and looked at it. Got along with them. That Sunday we're there, here come 2 Air Force jets. And they went around the compound and they banked their wings twice, and I heard from the guy who was there who started the whole situation that they have been doing that now for 6 weeks. Every Sunday they come around. Let you know they're there. And you can see they have these special gadgets, they have sensors. I mean, they've blown up, taking pictures the whole bit. Like I said, I can see this little phrase then will be, meteor hits Douglas County, Arizona. Tremendous fires raged, but it contained in the valley. No wildlife or no intelligent life was lost. 80 people just wiped out. It turned out 40 miles from there, they have an army base with the Air Force detachments where they test the stealth. Because that's where they go, to those remote areas. That blew my mind. That just upset my whole little plan. I already was planning to find areas in Africa I thought I could go to and I could live comfortably with. And now, of course, with the Tutsis and the other maniacs over there again, now they got Angola into another fight. You know, it goes on and on. The brother Arabs sometimes don't know who they are. I'm very sorry about that. I'm an honest person. I have a problem knowing where I want to go. And then if I can get away from the acts of humans, I gotta worry then about nature. And when I pattern and tune into nature, I gotta worry about heart programs and people giving shots and flying over, dropping biologicals. I got a whole lot of things planned. One of them is so way out, I'm not gonna talk about it, but I have problems trying to decide. I've been thinking about this for 10 years and haven't found a place I want to live in. But I got ready packs, and supposedly things to let me go when I want to. I just hope the Creator will help me as I try to help. That's my honest answer I can give you.
The magnet, I know there are magnetic, health aids, like the mattress, covers or so. Will those help us?
Choose from thousands of realistic voices to use in your content. Change the way you record podcasts, voiceovers, and branded content with the #1 AI.
When the sun turns magnetic?
Oh, they will help you now if you use them to build up your magnetic frequency. I'm always walking around with at least 9,000 galls. Sometimes I have the pads on and the feet and all like this. You got this is 1,000, these are 4 magnets with 4,000 galls. Helps my brain, helps me to think, and so on and so forth. Here's 4 more. That's 8,000 galls right there, okay? You have to build up your magnetic frequency. Just don't do it overnight. Magnets not only will take away most pain in 3.5 minutes, they promote the vibrations of your blood. They promote your oxygen carrying capacity. So, yes, magnetic mattress pads, any kind of magnets, use them. Start building up your potential because our planet is becoming magnetic. That's why magnets are back.
So it helps.
Yeah, we've been researching magnets for about 18 years. Still couldn't get the Chicago Bulls to take them. We even met Ron Harper. He took it back and still works and stuff, wouldn't okay it. So a lot of the Bulls have at least beginning to use it now. I hope it got to Jordan. I can't contact him. But now that sports teams are using magnets, people are beginning to understand the power of magnets. Well, they go beyond that. They can raise the frequency of your blood, and as you become more magnetic, you can become, you know it because you start dreaming in color. You probably can't sleep more than about 4.5 hours. You can rest, but you can't sleep more than 4.5 hours. And, most of the pain starts going away and all like this. So I would say magnets are definitely one of your resources to use now.
Right here. You mentioned children being taught to read from left to right horizontally when they should be taught vertically. Is that
Well,
what
they should, vertically is much easier, comfortable, because you don't just go, you don't go across the page. You're supposed to split your eyes and go down the page. This is what they call like photographic, so that the whole page seems to roll. Like when you look at the TV set, you don't concentrate just on one picture on the TV set. You look at the whole screen to get it. When you go to TV shows that have cinematography, you get back and you try, you're practicing back and forth your eyes. Well, that's also entrainment. When you can do that, you can generate more blood and more energy to the brain, and it will record. It actually will photograph these kind of things. But we're told to go sight read, word for word. Now, take a minute. Don't read so fast. Slow down. Go word for word. Enunciate that. Then, to say you go pay Evans Woods at $380 a day to speed up and scan the page instead of let that psychic mind come in. Yeah, I'm not going to give you another secret, but some of my students, and when I got through school, I had to learn a way because it put too much on me. I couldn't study all that stuff. I found a way to speed read and give it back to my subconscious mind, and they thought I was cheating because I'd be able to almost tell you everything was on that page. There's a certain thing you have to do. And we're just taught all wrong. We're not taught how to really use our brain. We're taught to use how one hemisphere, and the whole right brain just goes to waste. The right brain is your melanated brain, the so-called subconscious. I don't know what subconscious means. That's really coming to a partial total consciousness. And the whole thing is to the brain. You have to use both hemispheres. Then, things become easy. Memory improves everything. Questions?
Is it possible that your tape, the one that you put in the TV only, or is it they're using such a radio type?
Actually, I didn't quite understand.
The tapes that you're selling or issuing out or whatever, are all of them TV to be shown on the TV? Or
No, I have audio tapes. I got a whole case of audio tapes right here. And I'd love to be able to go on the airplane and not have to let them look through every tape when I go through, because they can't let them get scanned, okay? A whole case of tapes. The tapes, if you got a tape list, there were 2 long legal size sheets. Did you get a tape lister?
I missed it.
Yeah. You get one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 3 pages. A lot of those I have with me tonight, and I'll make a price, because I really like to not have to leave back with them. I have audio tapes, I think it's about 50 of them, and I have some videotapes. And if not, then you can write to our center if you like them, we'll mail them to you. Thank you.
Dr. Blair?
Yes.
You spoke about some, the problems with our water supply, and our air supply, and our food supply. Well, and I probably missed the solutions, but do you have some solutions that you'd like to share with us?
There's one that even I dare not say, that you'll be hearing about probably by the first of the year, that they're trying to keep out of this country. What you can still get in this country is KO7, and I had another one again, which is called Pyramid Water, it's Crystal Energy Gale Spanish water, but I left it. You can begin to treat your water with pure oxygen. All they really have to do in any city's water supply is aerate it or ozonate it or put oxygen into it. That's all they have to do. But they put 38, 28, 50 chemicals, whatever sits their mind. All your food should be soaked in this KO7 or Genesis 1000 or some kind of oxygenating capacity thing. You can put it in the tap water. I would suggest if you're drinking, of course, do not drink anything but steam distilled water. Some people say spring. If you know what I know about some springs, I wouldn't even do that. You want the water from a good source, then you want to steam, and if you can triple distill it and put it through charcoal and every other thing, do so, because what they're feeding you now is terrible.
That's reverse osmosis you're talking
Reverse
about?
well, that's one. Reverse osmosis, charcoal, distilled water is steamed. It actually evaporates, recondenses, and each time you do it, it's a process of distillation. It should be 3 times, but they don't. Then you can put it through a reverse osmosis filter if you're not, but you're going to lose a lot of water when you do that, if you know. Then you can put it through your charcoal if it's activated. But whatever you do, please don't drink the tap water. It's bad enough we have to wash with it. That's all we should do. And again, this is what we have, what we call KO7 and Pyramid Energy Water to hold that.
Some years ago, I think I heard Dick Gregory say that distilled water, it had a magnetic pull to it, and it took the minerals and vitamins out of the body. And he said he suggested spring water over distilled water. You have an idea what he's alluding to or talking about?
He told the truth, except for one part which I disagree with him on. Distilled water is an atomic neutral. It will pull. It gives you no minerals, and it pulls everything out of the body. But one of our problems is the wrong kind of minerals in the mineral buildup. If you take some spring water, you pour it into a pan, and you let it just osmosis, let it stay out of that, or if you add heat to it, you'll pretty soon have a little incrustation on whatever it was there. You do that 3 times a week for 7 days, you get a buildup you can visibly see. The same thing happens in your body, especially if you take any homogenized things, dairy products, pastas, anything like that, and this is where you start getting your kidney stones, your gallstones, and every other daggone thing, and clogging up. Now, it does not have enzymes in it, but most water doesn't. It's activated now. And the problem there, that it's magnetic and draws everything out, you want to clean out. You can get colloidal minerals. In fact, that little bottle right there is colloidal minerals. If you go to a health food store, you can get some of the best, and the only minerals to take are colloidal. But you want to know what kind of minerals you're getting. Some of these minerals are very toxic. And some of these minerals they don't take as the sources you're getting them from. And the water flows through underground springs. It's full of mercury and every other daggone thing. Well water, artesian spring water. Let me tell you something. You don't have to cut it off. Anybody's taking, please stop it off. I don't know where to go. Let's go upstairs for a second.
I would like to ask, you have a term that's colloidal silver and silver water.
Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
Why did you mention that? Just hold. I think I brought one. I guess I didn't. I thought I brought. Well, anyway, we carried it. I thought I had a vial of it here. I must have left that. Also, yeah, we carry colloidal silver and we carry colloidal gold. You have to work up to the gold. The silver will kill most bacteria and germs on contact. It's better even than that stuff that the bees have. Yeah, what it is now. But propolis will counteract it. But silverloid will raise the vibrations of the blood to a silver level. Gold level, of course, right now would make you break out, but you can even work to gold. And we do carry it.
Cancer, things like that.
Anything. And in fact, pure ozone in air is one of the best things for cancer cells. Cancer cells do not like light, do not like pure oxygen, and they want filth. And they want cells who have lost their cell governor. That's why they try to knock out the cell governor and then it converts the cell. That's why you have what they call now your free radical inhibitors. We have grapeseed oil, we have pycnogenol, all of those are free radical inhibitors, which stops those cells from becoming wayward and cross-linking, causing your tumors and things. Okay, it's supposed to be one at a time. All right.
When we do things to raise the frequency in our bodies, will we be able to create with our minds the things that our bodies need? Will we be able to do that?
Breatharian seems to be what is possible to do. People who have fasted, best guy I was ever able to make it 21 days, and I've tried fast, and I just haven't passed that little barrier. But I'm praying for strength. People who can actually get into 28-day fast, they don't want to eat. They become anorexic is when you have what you don't want to eat, and what's the other one? Bulimic is when you eat too much. Okay. They become anorexic because your body then wants to get the spirit out, and therefore it doesn't want mass. And then you can breathe things. You can breathe food energies, and you get full. Meat and stuff makes you want to vomit. You can smell, you eat a cherry or something or a grape, and it's so sweet it almost makes you sicken because you get attuned. Those enzymes then is what actually the higher consciousness. What you're actually trying when you're fasting is to release the spirit body, you see. And the more you do that, the less consciousness you need for the mass, the body mass. So to me, that's the way it's all working anyway. And whatever promotes that makes you develop those other powers that come with the spiritual person. Ability to see. Oh, wow, yes.
Okay. The question I have is that you mentioned that there are 7 kinds of humanoid life forms on the planet, and then you said that there were 2 underneath. Could you elaborate on what you
Well, we got white, we got brown, we got black, we got yellow,
Mhm.
and we got kind of a tan. We have different names. You got a green, and you got an amphibian type. Of course, we don't even come in contact with them too much,
But they're underground,
most of them.
and they have
Sometimes they get on the ground.
They have a certain look.
To the consternation of some folks. And now, of course, if they're into cloning and gene splicing and vitamin manipulation, who knows what they got. But they're crossing everything now. They're doing anything a mad scientist will do with no spiritual self. If they can do it genetically, they do it now. You heard about Dulce, New Mexico, Area 51, Montauk, well, that's what they're doing. Yes, sir.
I have a two-fold question. Getting back to the sister's original question, if I heard you correctly, you said getting the spirit out the body? Is that what you said?
I believe in the mind, spirit, soul, and body.
Okay.
And the spirit is what gives you your connection between mind and body. The soul is what lets you become period, the soul man, power man. And when you begin to fast and you use body mass, you give more energy to the spirit than you are the body. And a person, I didn't say religious now, I said spirit. When you do that, then your cravings are different, your desires are different, the energies that you feed on are different. You resolve. You're really vibrating faster. You're resonating. And it's a whole different.
So you're saying when one eats food, you're feeding the spirit?
No, you're feeding the body. The essence of the food fuels your spirit. And the thought of the food and the kind is shows you where your spirit is.
Okay.
What you desire.
All right, thank you. The second question is relating back to the sister up here. You said you dare not to give the information because within a year we want to hear about it.
That was an answer to, I think, some water or something I was saying again. It will come out. I mean, they're knocking people off talking about this water right now.
Okay, what is it?
And it is a water, but it's a different kind of water.
Have to wait till next year?
Well, I don't know. Well, you have to wait. If you want something and you tune for it, you get it. Now, if that's a pattern that wants you to have it, you get it. Say they make a broadcast of it, they're going to have to capitulate somewhere. They can't keep doing what they're doing, and most of them want their lives. So they're going to have to start releasing a lot of things. So English is behind. Okay, I thought I saw your hand up, I guess I did. Okay, let's go. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
About the HARP program, could you talk about that a little bit more?
HARP,
HARP.
High Active, Rural Research Project. It is in Kokona, Alaska. It is an area there of about 30 miles, known, I don't know what else they may have to support it, that has an array of antennae. Some of the antennae go up, again, 300-400 feet, and they're arrayed in a square. This array, in most cases, what they have done is to broadcast outward. They'll put an array, and each thing beams upward. These things are arrayed so that all of them will reach a point that when it gets pretty much up to what they call the ionosphere, and all this beam will then come together. They're saying, when asked about it, they first started the HARP program supposedly to contact submarines over the horizon. Then they wanted to do it to contact troops and platoons over the horizon. They bounce off the signal and bounce it down with them. Then they said they wanted to do it so they could release a ballistic missile without using so much of an energy booster rocket, and this would clear the path by rendering things in front of it. They just follow the beam on up and they get it out of space. All those are lies. What they're doing with it is to send up a signal. It can change the ionosphere and help to hope that they can put up a little barrier against the incoming frequencies. But then they bounce it off of the satellite and they can begin to look into the Earth for finding what has been hidden for us, for the hidden caves and tunnels and things deep beneath the Earth, because they're looking for a place to go to and a safe place to hide. No. Let's see if there's somebody else who did. Okay, yes, there's somebody else. I'll come back to you, but I just want to get everybody together. You usually have, I had my hand up and you didn't see it.
I've seen you many times in Chicago, could you give me a little information on the wisteria? I believe that's what you said it was?
The red plague.
Right.
Best as I understand, they've been worried about it now since about 87. But the scientists have reported that they just didn't give any heed to. It supposedly was found very greatly off the Carolinas. And they said it was a plant that grew on the bottom of the water there. They don't know how. I probably would have to guess, but anyway. Then they found it was attacking fish, and the fish had these little red spots and growth fungi on it. And then, as fish that were way out in the ocean began to happen. Then they began to wake up one day, and the thing had crawled up on the piers. It was growing on the piers and stuff. Then it began to get on the sand, and then it changed from a plant, it mutated into an animal again. And then they closed down all the beaches there in those 5 states for about 2 weeks, went into conference, and then they found out the thing had already mutated, was capable to be air vectorable, actually get into the air. And then it's around in the Gulf of Mexico, it's around there in the Carolina, on the California coast. I don't know where all it's not. But it's called wisteria or the red plague. Thank you. Yes.
Are there things that we can use like barley grains to help raise that vibratory rate in the body, to take things, to cleanse the waste out of the body? What can we do to help the vibratory rate? What can we do?
A lot of things. OxyCleanse, putting oxygen into the colon, getting colonic irrigation, and keeping, so you don't have any buildup and your small intestines can dump. Oxycaps, you get more oxygen into the body, magnets to help keep things on the move and raise the vibrations of the blood. Silverloid, gold, when you can finally work up to it again. Meditation, color breathing. I like Corella. Myself, that's what the Japanese used over there when we got the hellbound on them. And Corella brought them through, so we got them through from radiation poisoning. That's what I use. And then if you can get some good produce, soak it, of course, in the oxygen. The oxygen matters, so it gets the germs and bacteria, kills them, and then run it for the enzymes. Your celery, carrots, beets is a very good thing too. But you have to be so careful when you have to soak these things in some of these oxygenated sources, or else the bacteria and the fungi are just too strong. Anything that can raise the vibration. Wow, yes.
I'd like to piggyback off of the sister's question. I heard you name a number of things in terms of deal with oxygen in the body. One thing that you mentioned in terms of like using the oxy cleansers in terms of foods that are already natural oxygenated conductors, like ketogenic foods like yams, black-eyed peas, lentils, a lot of things you already eat that are natural oxygenated conductors. Do you suggest using the same methods for cleansing them? Are you saying that those substances, because of the irrigation methods that they use now, contain less oxygen for us once we cleanse them to provide more? Does the oxygen cleanse enhance those juice in the food?
I think they would enhance them, and unless you're able to grow your own and know what's on it, all food, organic or not, crosses the state line is fumigated by state inspectors. So I don't care how you grew it, once they inspect it and comes on those ships and the boats and the trains and stuff, you already got poison in them. Some of these seeds, you know, they got another thing now called a seed register, what they call terminator seed, in which now you're only going to get one growth out of any seeds, and you have to pay them more, because they've already gene spiced it, and they won't sell the farmers any good seeds anymore. So I would think very greatly that what you're getting is not good anyway, but if it is, it won't be for long. So you have to hide your seeds and get your own farm, and then hope that nothing falls from the sky in the form of strontium and all the rest of the stuff. We're living on a terrible planet, just trying to be destroyed, and to say you got a battle now for help.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
The clarification first, and then I'd like to ask a question. Again, getting back to the items on the table, like you said, the kale study.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you also recommend, the food grade hydrogen peroxide?
Yeah,
Okay, the food grade?
yeah, I recommend it, but you have to be very careful with it.
Right.
In fact, now, they've got a ban on even selling you pure pint bottles of 35% food grade hydrogen peroxide. Most health food stores that still carry it are doing it with stupidity because, they can put them in jail now, they're getting a law against that. If you get it already diluted, like Don's Back was, and Oxygen, we carry that, but here's something happened. Don's Back, one of the ones I use was Don's Back, 35% food grade hydrogen peroxide. The, what's the name of this company? I forget it now, I took them over now. And I actually had to get creative what I put it in my mind. When they first were labeling it, after they went to about 30-minute hiatus, they stopped the 30-day hiatus to change over. On there was FDC Red 40 and a couple other things in there. And I called and I asked the guy who was getting it from before, because we buy so many things, we get most of our stuff at a very low wholesale price. Why did you do this? What is this? And I tasted it, and it was repulsive to me. And then I had the lemon lime, which I used to love that. It did taste repulsive. They said that they didn't do it. Well, I already got the one where they labeled it correctly. Next batch had on there natural food coloring, and so on and so forth. So, and that's already diluted. To say, if you've got stuff that's not diluted, I'd say hoard it, but be very careful with it. You know, you have to space that stuff out. You take the wrong dosage and you're in deep trouble.
Okay, that question is just a clarification, but what I'd like to ask is how can we, enhance the abilities of our children? I don't know if I should use the word enhance, because they're probably the most spiritual we are. But the reason I'm asking, like say for example, two of my children have actually seen entities in spirit, and my 4-year-old son has actually told me that he was one of the people that built these towers that they're putting up, and I just thought it was interesting that he say that. And I don't know how to question him to find out, like, just where he's coming from.
I have a tape called Children.
Children?
I have a tape called Children. I have a tape called Man, and I have a tape called Woman, or Woman, and I have a tape called the Man, Woman, and Children Lecture. We'll break down how I understand these new souls coming in at this time, who are reincarnates. They stayed around for the longest, and they're back to fight or flight. They're back here, and if you don't give them training, they'll run over you, because they're here for a purpose and a purpose only. The time that they chose to be born now. And as the vessel carries, you chose just the time before these advanced souls would come back. So they're probably telling you the truth. And if we can understand that and not kill that ability, they can help you just like cats can help you, because they see the other side too, if you understand how to communicate with them. So pretty soon we'll all be able to do it if we stay on this planet. We'll have to. But I'm just saying, before this kind of time, we kind of lost sight with what we call the reality is really unreal, and the unreal we call, real. I'm sorry to get into that.
I think you used the term color breathing. Could you elaborate on that some?
Yeah, color has a vibration. And to see color, you have to hear sound, but we don't lose the sound. We lose the sound when you see the color. Like when we hear sound, we lose the color of the sound. Everything has a vibratory rate. And color breathing, if you're exposed to certain colors, the vibrations from those colors will leave the pigmentation where they are and come to you as an essence. It reaches what they call the endocrine gland and the pineal gland in the form of essence. And that's one way of also healing. Colors can heal. It's like colors can affect you. You see red, you see, different gray. Gray is going to make you slow down. Red is going to make you speed up and become more viscerotonic. Blue will make you more spiritual, and amethyst will make you even more psychic, and all these kind of things. So it's a way of using colors, and crystals freeze color and can release it back to you. That's why the use of crystals is coming back. But the only thing we forgot, when you use crystals, they also use magnets. We didn't teach you how to do that. I went away from you before you were ready.
Oh, because and just that's my son, just that I had a vision of him from 2 years before he began his stage.
You had what?
A vision.
A vision of him?
And he's definitely, he's a challenge, that's for sure. But it's just that I know that it has to go hand in hand with something else. But I'm frustrated because I don't know how to use him, for lack of a better description, because I know he's here for a reason. And I've often asked, people that I know, how to work around this, because he's definitely talented.
Well, you can come for a consultation. You can buy the tape on children, buy the tape on man, woman, and children, or again, do a lot of meditating and then pray. Your answer will come slower that way, but there'll be ones that you can accept, or they'll come to you. Other than that, you have to believe what I'm saying or what a tape says. There are no new souls being born now. They're all old souls back for a reason, and the reason is what they want to do. This is why they have to come to it this time. And they're strong. If you don't control them, they will ride over you, walk over you, and leave you because they came here for a purpose. No new souls being born at this time. In fact, the souls coming in now, they got to be either crazy or really here for a purpose. Because they come at a time when, by the time that they're 12, we might not even have a planet. We will, I'm just joking, but there'll be so much chaos. They're the ones who settle the chaos. They do not play, they do not reason, they feel, and they act. If you can't get to them in the womb, you get it once you get out of the body. Now you're going to have to go back to your womb self to find out how to do that now. That's when the kind of contact when you're conceiving and carrying. Yes.
What year is it? You said it's after 2000.
That's a very good question. And I don't want to get into that. By the way, too, the coming planetary alignment I did not deal with. I dealt with the sun, and I said that it wasn't alignment. What some are saying, like Professor Noonan, there's a lot of different books, 2000, 5 ice, and all this kind of stuff. What they're saying is that by May 5th, 2005, that there will be a big cataclysm here on Earth. It will happen because all the planets in our solar system will align against the Earth. There will be one planet to the right, and every other planet will be in exact opposition to the Earth, which will put such a stress and strain on the Earth that will supposedly either flip out, be destroyed, have all kind of volcanic and earthquake activities. But what will really happen is Earth becomes a very special phenomenon. I really don't want to get into that. That's a very special lecture, but tonight they're making me say more than I usually want to say, so I don't know what's so special about you guys. But I can only say that, oh yeah, I fight. But when they say to say it and I don't, then I'm in trouble. And I definitely can't fall out with the gods. So I have to put it like this, that the opposition will really mean that we are singled out because we are one of 22 planets that had a special thing to do for various life forms who come here and develop to see if they could commingle and make it. I think the thing is, the experiment is a failure myself, but they seem to think it's not. But whichever, at that time, the Earth will kind of get a triple promotion, and things will be changed here. And we'll be awakened to see 11 other planets in our system, because we can't see the other 3 now, and our sun in their new brightness, and of course things will have changed. But what the meteorologists and geophysicists are saying is that the alignment will cause all 9 planets, or 8 planets in our system, it's 12, but they're still talking about 8 and 9, we being the 9th, to come in opposition to us at that time, and will cause a lot of strain and stresses on the Earth, and the Earth may even fracture or be thrown out of orbit or pivot to poles. And that's what they're referring to, 2005, May 5th. Let's go, okay.
then as spirit beings, if the earth will flip or split or whatever, as spirit beings raising our frequency, we become spirit, and we can choose to move in spirit to other planets that are in alignment, that are still whole, or
Well, my understanding is we do that anytime we go to sleep if we want to anyway, or we could have. Kind of lost a lot of that power now. So now we get it as dreams, and we never complete our dreams, and we can't wake up in the dreams. If we do, we find ourselves outside the body, we get scared as heck, go through trauma, pop back in, and then we would never do that again. When the planet has a correct frequency, you can change into any of those bodies that you've been gifted enough to have. Physical is not a reality. Physical is probably the lowest vibration, as I understand, you can possess. That's why it deteriorates and so hard to keep it going. But the spiritual and mental, you can always recreate and procreate, because these are vibrations much faster than the physical. So when our planet changes vibration, it becomes magnetic, then we get to see other planets in this system and other systems we can't even see now because of the frequency and the low frequency we're on. So that's
Is there something that's happened to you when sounds bother you, like a certain person's voice annoys you, or if it's something you hear on the radio, you have to turn it on because that frequency annoys you where before probably wouldn't?
Yeah, sure.
So what
And-
happens to you?
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, what happens to the person? I'm speaking for myself.
What may be happening is like you're going to see people, to digress this a little bit, pretty soon walking down the street, not only they're talking to themselves, I don't mean the ones on crack, cocaine, and high on alcohol, but they'll also be doing this. You see people, like they hear buzzing or it's a bee around. There will be nothing there, but on the right side, they'll feel a frequency. And it'll be annoying, and you see them doing it and kind of looking around like this. Those were them who are slow to develop when they're fighting it. But on your own self in general, vibrations are emitted through the tympanic membrane. You can hear it, and the vocal cords excite it. That's how you can talk and hear. Each of those, you have to tune to a certain vibrational rate in order to form those different syllables and monosyllables. It's like they teach you for mantras and chants. When you put certain energies into it, it means certain energies in your body are now transforming into sound. So there are certain things that the person, you're not just hearing it, you're tuning to it. When you tune to it, if the person is a person that you don't like or has vibrations you don't like, pretty soon you can hear that in the tone of their voice. You can sense that even though they say nothing. It's a way of being what they call psychic. And when we get it on the rudimentary form, plane, since sound is your lowest register and travels the slowest, that's the first thing you awaken to. But before a person even says anything, pretty soon you can look at them, you make eye contact, you can sense what's there. And if they speak, definitely, the tonal vibrations can either, excite you or make you nauseous or turn you off or make you, non-coherent to it, whatever. But sound is a force and power, but it's much slower to travel than light or vibration or frequencies above. Yeah.
You speak about 3 other planets. Is it, like you said, that we're in the physical realm, it's so low now that we can't see them? Or is it, they're like another dimension?
Or is it what?
Another dimension, so we gotta make that kind
Simply they're here. One is that our vibrations were not right to see them. Another is because we don't even know what kind of look like. And we depend upon the astronomers and geophysicists to let us know. For instance, on Apollo 15 mission, they discovered the 10th planet. It's being talked about in astronomical journals. How many kids in school or children in school are being taught about the 10th planet? Even the position of that 10th planet. Okay? They found, they used to have Jupiter at 9 moons. They found 12 moons around Jupiter now. They haven't reported the other 3, but they tried to send to the Jason scholars a package to blow up Titan. And they want to settle on Europa. I mean, when you have somebody else doing your technology, you'll fall victim as a child would to whatever that parent tells you. How do you know?
So those are the, planets that you speak of?
Pardon?
Are those the planets that you speak of? 'Cause I-
No, I really want to get into that too, because the names may be wrong later. I know the names that they're using, but what does it mean? One's supposed to be beyond the orbit of Jupiter, one is where the asteroid belt is now, and one is an intermercurial planet. That's supposed to be their positioning, but who knows? Yes.
The pyramid that you say is located in Illinois, exactly where is that in Illinois?
Cahokia State Park, Edwardsville, between Collinsville and the highway between Edwardsville and Collinsville. You can Cahokia State Park. They call it part of the last of the Indian mounds, from the Ohio mounds that come through. That is where the head rests. And they have a very interesting thing there too. They have in that pyramid it's larger than space in the Giza pyramid. And it's not quite as high, I think it's 376 feet or something like that. But they have a room in there, which is very interesting, where they have a centerpiece, something is there buried in the ground, and then they have spears, like a spear tip, in circles, and it has 13 to 12 concentric circles around it. What is interesting, each of those circles and each of those spears is a different tribe or nation. Some of them, as they are the ones that were closest to it, were from material, rocks and flint and things that are found across the ocean, under the ocean, other continents. And it is as though whoever this dignitary that was there or whatever happened there, people had pilgrimaged from around the earth to come there and laid their representative spear tips in circles, and it shows that there were many nations that came. Something happened there very special. But of course, I have not been able to research it, and I believe nothing that I'm told from them, so I let it ride. Yes, sir.
Dr. Blair, you mentioned a minute ago that you were, saying things that you had not planned to say and move into areas, and you made the emphasized comment that I wonder what makes you so special or something to that effect.
Sure did.
So now, having said that, then I wonder if you would take a moment, and I don't know if this is asking more than you would like to do, but you take a moment, because prior to that, I was wondering what lights were you seeing. It dawned on me that, you're there looking out at us, and we're sitting here assuming that, you're seeing our faces and our hands, but I thought you might be seeing more our light, and I just wondered what type of light you were seeing in space.
No, I didn't see your lights. I sense your vibration. And if I look at a person long enough, I'll sense his or her vibration. I see all of that, I would have, thinking about me.
Yeah, that was the lights I was referring to, the orange lights.
Yeah, but at this distance with my glasses on, I can't do it. Once you